there's a little bit of a lag. Okay, we're good. So let me go ahead and share my screen, slides, and we'll get started. So I call this meeting to order at 12:04 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and establish a roll call as always to do quorum. And I have the spreadsheet pulled up as always to go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and let this load and zoom in. So Amend, are you here? Amend?
Here.
Thank you. Academic Support Club. ASC, Academic Support Club. Alpha Gamma Sigma.
Yeah.
Armenian Students Association. Armenian Students Association. Caduceus Club.
Here.
CARP.
Here.
Catholic Student Fellowship.
Here.
Chinese Students and Scholars Association.
Here.
Christians on Campus.
Here.
Circle K International.
Here.
Club Italia.
Here.
College Leap.
Here.
Dana Club. Dana Club, are you here? Diagnos.
Here.
First. First, are you here? French Club.
Here.
Green Lancer Sustainability.
Here.
Haunting Hour.
Here.
International Christian Fellowship.
Here.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, are you here? Japanese Social Club. JSC. Lancer Motorsports.
Here.
NAV Success Club.
Yes.
Lancer Parents United, sorry, I skipped you there. Lancer Parents United. Omicron Mu Delta. OMD.
Here.
Thank you. PCC Corporate Finance.
Here.
PCC Debating Society.
Here.
PCC Esports Club.
Here.
PCC Economics Club.
Here.
PCC Global Club.
Here.
PCC Pre-Law Club. Is Pre-Law Club here? PCC Tech Ventures.
Here.
PCC Chuching.
Here.
Philosophy Club. Is Philosophy Club here? Pi Club.
Here.
Pineapple Hospitality.
Here.
Psychology.
Here.
Puente.
Here.
Queer Alliance.
Here.
Registered Nursing Club.
Here.
Sacanus.
Here.
She Codes.
Here.
Ship.
Here.
Simba.
Here.
SWE. Society of Women Engineers. Third Wave. Is Third Wave here? And Ujima. Is Ujima here?
Here.
Okay,
Here.
thank you. Let me go ahead and sort this sheet. And I did see like 1 or 2 people come in. So if you think I passed your name, go ahead and unmute yourself and say so. But I will have a last call for these clubs here: Academic Support Club, Armenian Students, Dana. First, InterVarsity, Japanese Social Club, Lancer Parents United, Pre-Law Club, Philosophy Club, SWE, and Third Wave.
InterVarsity Christian Fellowship is here.
Okay, and then is there anybody else that might have just joined us? Last call.
I'm here, but not on the list.
Splintered Minds, okay. Anybody else in the same boat as Splintered Minds that they're not on the list, but they're here? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on then, because we do have quite a few people here and we did meet quorum. I'm going to go ahead and ask you all to then next approve the agenda. As always, the link for the agenda is in the email that I sent out earlier this week and up here on the slide too, if you want to copy it and go to that. But here is the agenda. So pretty simple agenda today. I know we have charting and decharting as we typically do, but I think most of our discussion is going to happen during this item B here. But with that said, just to help move things along here, I would like to now entertain a motion to approve the agenda for Friday, November 20th, 2020. Do I have a first on that? Do I have a first for approval of the agenda?
I'll first.
Okay, and Adon, that's Club Italia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I second French Club.
French Club, thank you. And just to go ahead and move things along here so we can all get to the discussion item, we're just going to go ahead and do a vote by voice. So all in favor, you can go ahead and unmute yourselves and say aye, please.
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. And if there's any opposed, unmute yourself and state as such. And are there any abstentions to approval of the agenda? Nope. Okay. Unanimous. Oh, I see my chat flashing here. So, okay. All right, I'll go ahead and mark this person as here. But this motion has been passed unanimously, so thank you for that. We'll go ahead and move on to next order of business, which is approval of the minutes. So I will go ahead and attach that here. These are the minutes from our previous meeting on November 6th. Again, this was sent out to all of you in Monday's email. Some charting was done, and then I answered some ICC questions, but that was pretty much about it. So we'll go ahead and move to now, if I can entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 6th, 2020's meeting. Do I have a first on that?
First amend.
Amend. And do I have a second, please?
AGS second.
AGS seconds. Thank you for that. And we're just going to go ahead and do a vote by voice because this is the minutes. So all in favor, mute yourselves and say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you for that. Any opposed, unmute yourself and state as such. And any abstentions, unmute yourself and state as such too. Okay, thank you for that. We'll go ahead and then move on to the next item here, which is my executive board report. So pretty much for today, not really much going on in terms of me. I know ICC is kind of winding down for a semester as all of you are preparing for finals. But before I move ahead for the meeting, as always, like to go ahead and recognize that we are performing this meeting on native land of the Hahamanga tribe and just to honor those that came before us. With that said, I wanted to remind you all that there were a couple of funding requests turned in. So as far as I know, this funding committee meeting at 4:45 is still on. Yeah, again, ICC is winding down, so not really much to say from my end here. In terms of the work I've been doing for AS and for all of you, I'm trying to work on getting out a privacy survey. I know this has been kind of a long-standing kind of thing that I've been working on in the background for you all. But I know there's been a lot of concerns about proctoring software like Proctorio and ProctorU. So I'm trying to go ahead and get a survey out for you all so we can get feedback to give to faculty. I know there are a couple of AS events coming up. I know Carrie has the calendar for that, so she will talk about that next, but that's pretty much it for me. Let me go ahead and then move on to next. So Carrie, advisor comments?
Hi, just going to make a few quick comments because I have to go to another meeting. But just to remind folks about winter intercession, you can meet as a club. We still need you to do the club meeting form. Generally, this is a time that your club can spend some time just planning and getting ready for the spring semester. I really highly recommend that. But just as a reminder, you cannot do any sort of activity when the college is not in session. So over spring break, after, and then we looked at that when we say that the college is closed, the college is open for 1 week, and I think we're open till the 23rd, December 23rd. So if you're going to be doing stuff because it's online, I don't mind that you do things online up until that point, but really the college is closed, then there'll be nothing happening until we start up winter intercession. Once you start winter intercession, please fill out the club form again, and your club can meet and do activities during that time. Chris, what did you say I needed to comment on? I'm sorry.
I believe there's some upcoming AS events if you want to.
Definitely, definitely. We're gonna send it out using Chris's, we'll put it on Lancer Life, but we'll also use Chris's newsletter. We are doing the relaxation week, and that is coming up for December 3rd and 4th. It's gonna be a drive up of
Oh, I believe she cut out, but that's okay. I know our other advisor here, Shanina. So Shanina, if you have any comments, if she if she's here.
Sorry, I had to unmute it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say the only thing is that even though we're online and it's Zoom, you still need to turn in your activity requests ahead of time. We can do like a week, but to turn it in the morning and then expect to have your meeting in the afternoon, some of us may not be online to check those, to approve them. So that means that you're having events or meetings without it being approved. So that's the only thing I would say is make sure you guys turn in your activity requests. Give us a little more time than a couple hours to approve something. I think that's actually one of the requirements too. But I know we're almost done. Just keep it in mind. We start back January 4th. So if you want to have meetings that week, you can still turn it in and be approved for Monday, January 4th when we start up again. That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sheena. And I don't know if Carrie is going to come back in time, but regardless, I think what she was going to say is that AS does have a bunch of events coming up, most notably the Finals Relaxation Week. So information for that will be sent out obviously in my newsletters. But if you follow us on Instagram, please check that page as we will have any flyers or anything about that event on there too. Yeah, so just to go ahead and move forward, if there's any public comment on non-agenda items, I'll go ahead and take that now. Let me go ahead and check the YouTube chat here. I do not see any public comment, but I know there is a lag. So I will go ahead and say if there's any, if there are any later in the meeting. Okay, next is some ICC announcements. So this is a time for any of you to step up and talk about any future events or meetings that your club is planning to have. So yeah, if there are any ICC announcements, I'll allow that time now. Anybody want to unmute themselves and talk about any upcoming events?
Yes, Faison Jones from Mint. Actually, we just had our executive meeting prior, about 2 hours ago, and we were talking about in the future, possibly adopting a family for this upcoming Christmas and getting some community service out there. So we're definitely gonna definitely work on this a little bit more and create a solid foundation to put this in motion. But I believe this is going to be good for our program to give back as well as come together as a community ourselves. So definitely looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come in and talk about ICC announcements?
Hi, it's a Christian Catholic Student Fellowship, sorry. So we are pretty excited. We're finally getting everything organized to get the t-shirts for the club and the rosaries. And we'll be submitting the forms. And we just wanted to wish everyone a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving. And if you want to, put something in the chat or send it to us privately in the chat during this meeting, we'll be more than happy to pray for you and whatever intentions you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here? I see Carrie has joined us, so we might want to backtrack a little bit if she has any comments. And she does have to go. But is there anybody else before I go ahead and do that? Okay, no problem. Let me just go ahead and backtrack for a few seconds here. So Carrie, before you drop that, I believe you wanted to make some extra comments.
Yeah, sorry, I too lose internet. Just so I want to make sure that you all know that we have holiday relaxation week, and they just put this out on their Instagram. If you don't follow them, follow my ASPCC. And we will give out the details about the drive up pickup again on Colorado campus. It's just Thursday, December 3rd. Rosemead campus, it's going to be December 4th, so the Friday. The other thing that I really wanted to share with you, and I'll be sending you all an email directly, is that every year we do something called Holiday Angels, and that is a gift tree project. So it takes students, fellow students of yours who are struggling, who are enrolled in the EOPNS and CARES program, CalWorks PASS program. These are all programs really scheduled to help folks who are struggling right now, who don't have a lot of money. I know that's a lot of us because we're all in COVID, and a lot of you have lost jobs and families of members have lost jobs. But if you find in your budget, and maybe with the club, you can get together an extra $5, get 7 of you together. Holiday Angels Giving Tree allows folks to put the names and a gift wish of their child on a tree. And you've seen it in the past. A lot of you who are returning students know that we have a big tree with labels on it, and people can go ahead and pick up a name for the tree and buy a gift, and we give it to the student for their child. So it's really to just help some folks out who are having a really hard time right now. So what I would really ask you, we will be sending out an email. We're doing it all electronically right now. And in the past, we never had a problem selling out the tree, meaning all the tags are taken. I'm really worried now. I'm hoping that you all may have, can pull your club together, everyone kick in a couple bucks and pick a name off and make a child's Christmas a little bit brighter. I fully recognize everyone's having a hard time right now. And if you can't do it, that's fine. But if you can, and you've got the time and the money, please do. We're going to send out an email with the link. It's a Sign Up Genius. You just go through, scroll a name, pick a name. For instance, we've got a 6-year-old girl who wants a pink skateboard. That's an awesome thing to buy her. And you buy it, you send it to us directly at the Office of Student Life. We wrap it and then bring it to the child's house at Christmas. So please, 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 if you can, you'll be getting an email about it, but just take that out to your clubs. And if you have the ability, please share. So unfortunately, I have to go to my other meeting. Chris, she's not going to come.
Okay, no worries.
We'll do it another time. All right. Thank you all. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So with that said, any other ICC announcements? I didn't mean to step on anybody's toes if they meant to make an announcement here, but is there any last announcements before we move on? Nope. Okay, no worries. So we'll go ahead and move on to action items. I know we have action item A today, which is club chartering. I know this is more at this point more of a formality, but I don't believe we have anybody who needs to be chartered today because I didn't see any paperwork. But if I'm wrong on that, stop me if there's anybody here that needs to be chartered and we can dole it out. But if there's nobody, I would just move on with no action on this. So next action item is club de-chartering. So these are the following clubs that have had some attendance missing, and due to that, they've exceeded that threshold officially, and so they were set to be de-chartered today. So I'll put those names up on the slide for now, but I would just like to go ahead and make a recommendation that, I understand all of us this semester kind of, I think, had a lot of difficulty maybe getting online or learning in this, environment. I know a lot, like I said, Carrie has said that a lot of people have lost jobs and are dealing with family and personal issues. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this that they were up to be de-chartered, but I won't make a motion to de-charter them. I would like to go ahead and mention to these clubs, however, that for next semester, for spring 2021, I would like everybody to kind of be on board with my emails and make sure that they get the links and stuff. Because during spring, I believe I'll try to be more stringent on the attendance. And if you are missing meetings, I will move to de-charter you. So no de-chartering today. So, just you get a pass for really this semester. But yeah, if there's any comments on that, I know we can have a little bit discussion at this point too, if there's any questions about this.
Yes, I do have a question, Chris. I know that it's very difficult sometimes to attend the meeting, so wouldn't it be easier to have 2 ICCs per club, just to make sure that if anybody cannot make it, at least the backup can be present?
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that I recommend a lot of clubs do, especially during this time. If you have one person that all of a sudden has to take care of something, as we all do nowadays, make sure that someone else can step in and that they're signed up for the email so that they get the Zoom link. Yeah, that's totally okay, and that's actually something I recommend for people. So if you have an alternate in mind, that's acceptable.
Thank you, Chris.
So I have a question just to understand what you were saying about spring. Does that mean that our attendance is a clean slate in the spring, or we still carry this attendance over to the spring?
It's a clean slate because I will recharter all of you in the spring again in one big fat motion at one of the big meetings at the beginning of the semester. So it's not like the history that you have this semester will be a cloud hanging over your head for spring. So yeah, that's why I said just make sure everyone has a clean slate in spring. So or they start out with a clean slate in spring. So just make sure you're attending the meetings and that you get the links and everything.
Okay, and then in the winter, did I hear Carrie correctly? We can continue to meet in the winter, but do we have to submit a new club meeting form?
I would say it's best to do that because as I understand it, schedules are going to change past fall with classes and the holidays and stuff. So yeah, just submit a new one. Sheena here is actually in charge of reviewing them and approving them. So if you have any questions, direct them to Sheena and she will help you out with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments about attendance and dechartering and stuff before I move on? Okay, no worries. I'm in the same situation too. I had to turn in some assignments late for my classes. So, I understand that sentiment. So I won't be decharting anybody today, but for next semester, I'll be a little bit more strict on that. So just keep that in mind. So no action was taken on this item for people who are viewing this from the public. So discussion items. Carrie has told me that the person that was to do the Title IX training, which is the law that schools cannot discriminate based on sex or gender orientation, that person is not here today, so we'll go ahead and skip this item unless there's any discussion on this, if anybody has anything to say. QA or anybody? Okay. All right, so the big discussion item of the day today would be this last item, which is spring 2021 and planning for spring 2021. So I broke this down into a couple of different sections here so we can kind of digest it better. So I'll go ahead and go over this like kind of first slide here, and then we'll go ahead and move on. And I'll pause between each slide if there's any questions. So the first thing I want to talk about for spring 2021 and how the procedure is going to go and everything is registration. So I like to go ahead and ask that you all you're all pretty good at reading my emails. I check the statistics and the analytics and stuff. But I just want to go ahead and remind you all to check that email inbox over the winter, because I know a lot of you might not be taking classes over the winter, but to check it anyways, because I'll be sending out information on how to register and re-register your club for spring 2021. Also a reminder that your advisors can sign up for this email list as well. Pretty much anybody that has a valid email address can sign up. So if you want to keep them in the loop and they want to hear directly from me, you can go ahead and forward the link to them about signing up for my mailing list. I will caution that I believe because the email address I use to communicate you all is a Gmail address, and if I send a bunch of emails out to pasadena.edu, I think that that massive send will trigger a spam warning. And so if I send it and your advisor doesn't get it, there's a possibility, and Carrie had to do this, that they have to kind of bypass the spam filter and whitelist my email address. So keep that in mind. At the same time, though, I'm working with Carrie and IT on getting an actual @pasadena.edu email address so that there should be no issues in the future with getting those emails out either to advisors or to you. There's nothing that has to be done on your end to update your contact information. It would just be sent from a different email address once I make that switch over. So just to keep that in mind, in the future, I believe any communication from me and you foreseeably will be through that pasadena.edu email address, and I will retire the current Gmail address that I have right now. But that's more of like a technicality that I want you all to be aware of. Back to registrations here, though. If there's any questions about that, I would take them now. About the process or where to find the form or anything like that.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, where to go to find everything. So, and then what are the deadlines?
Yeah, so I will send out email newsletter for sure, but this will also be out on Master Life. And there's a particular like way you have to navigate the interface to get to re-registering your organization. But I'll go ahead and walk you all through that. But yeah, registration is going to be on Master Life. Just check my emails for the guide. I can actually maybe, well, I can't show you now because registrations are closed. But as for your question in regards to a due date, registration can really honestly happen anytime in the semester, as long as it's not like obviously like 4 weeks before finals when we have the closing of when people are kind of going into finals and stuff and people aren't allowed to have events. So you can register anytime you feel comfortable, but standard operating procedure for a lot of clubs that want to come back for spring is that they do it at the beginning of the semester just so they can get their funding in, their paperwork in, get all their ducks in a row so they can have the rest of the semester to have their events and stuff.
Okay, and then we don't register for winter.
No.
Say we just send in the club meeting form just for winter.
You're still writing on a charter that you had, the charter status that you had for fall. So for winter, so that's when that like statute ends. And then you have a clean slate with spring with the attendance, with the the new forms you have to turn in and stuff. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
So are there any questions about chartering or re-registering or anything like that before I move on?
Sorry. So for the clubs that aren't going to be dechartered, are you going to bring that back up in the spring?
I won't.
Okay.
Not for the first meeting. I'll just be like, these are the clubs that existed in fall, and so I expect them to register for spring. And if they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not. We won't charter them. It's
okay. All right. I was just going to recommend not to. Just to give everybody a clean slate, including the people that are currently up for dechartering.
No, everybody's going to be on an even playing field. So I'm just going to pull the attendance sheet that I have for this meeting and be like, these people I expect to be registered, but if they're not here, then we just won't charter in that meeting. That's all.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chris.
Okay, anybody else? I know Sophia hears a lot of questions, but if anybody has any other questions. Okay. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about Virtual Club Rush and what that will look like for spring 2021. And this is where I really would like all of you to give your input and your feedback on, the vision of what this will be. Again, I plan on having the same format as last semester, but I think based on the fact that that was kind of our first try, and our first try wasn't perfect. I kind of pulled some of these pieces of feedback in that I wanted to kind of present to you all about, and what you all would think about that. So obviously, I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and have different sessions again, and I'll send an invite to you all about registering for those sessions in my newsletter. I don't think there should be a problem with that. If anybody has any suggestions about that, I think that worked really well for fall. But some ideas for the spring and for how it might differ from Fall Club Rush, I was thinking of some of these things. So let me go ahead and kind of dive into them a little bit more. First, as a production company, seeing that a lot of clubs this semester didn't particularly request funding or even utilize their stimulus funding, we have, I wouldn't say not a lot, but we have plenty of money in the coffers to kind of use if you want to hire an outside production company to kind of handle the recording and the editing and all that for us. I don't know how you all would feel about that, if you all preferred the format of fall, which was having the AS members kind of come in and do it instead. So I'll pause here. And are there any kind of questions about that? Should I research what companies and how much they charge? Because I want to kind of, get your feedback on this and see what you all want.
I have a sort of offhand question.
Yeah.
Instead of using the stimulus money for the club rush, would we be able to extend the amount of time that clubs have access to the stimulus money?
The stimulus, okay, so in terms of funding, that's actually the other side I want to talk about. I'm actually going to reintroduce another stimulus package. But I'll talk about that in funding, unless you're talking about if you can use stimulus money for virtual club rush, or you're misunderstanding your question.
No, I don't think you're misunderstanding. I was just asking if we could extend it, using the stimulus money to have for the clubs to extend it to the spring semester, so the clubs can use that money in the spring semester as well.
Yeah, it's not necessarily an extension that I have in mind, but it's going to be a, well, you'll see when I get to that slide. But for now, is there any kind of comments or questions about bringing in an outside production company? Is this a yes or a no? Should I do it or not?
If you are going to do that, I definitely, I don't know, my stuff isn't working, but if you are going to look into an outside company, definitely some research on, what the cost is and what their protocol will be. And do we have rights to it afterwards? Because some production companies won't give you your rights unless you pay an extra fee.
Okay. Let me make a note of that.
Go ahead. I'm actually definitely in favor of the production company. I actually recently was shown a video done for the San Diego Charter for Mint, and the sheer quality there and the time that they did and put into the video drew me in. So if we're trying to draw people in for Club Rush, that quality matters, and it's definitely a good idea to look into a professional company doing that for you.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna maybe play a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I understand that in the fall we brought the AS members in, and although I think in a lot of eyes that might seem like an amateur production, I know that some people kind of like that direct personal connection with like actual PCC students on campus instead of interfacing with a company or third party. So it's like I want to go ahead and kind of duke it out and see what you all want. Like if this is more like if you are more in favor of a production company, if most of you are, or if most of you want the same format as last semester. So is that kind of what I'm getting here? Are more people in favor of having a production company brought in, or do they want more of a personal touch to this?
I like the personal touch. I'm not against the production company, but I feel like having that little chat room we had this semester was more of a like a homey feel. I don't know how to explain it. I just prefer this one.
Okay, so I actually think that. So I mean, I see another comment in the chat here, but it looks like maybe it's like half you want to have this production company brought in, and then maybe half you prefer the format that we had before. So why don't I like go ahead and make a survey for this that I'll send out in a newsletter, and you can all kind of pick up that survey and maybe kind of vote on if you want one or the other, and we can kind of go from there. Is that okay?
I think that would be good.
Okay, let me make a note of that here. Okay, and I think maybe based on a lot of the things that I'm going to discuss today, I might have to have some more questions in the survey too, but this is good feedback. I like it. Yeah. The next thing, okay, before I move on to the next point here, are there any other comments about bringing in a production company or not bringing in a production company here that you would like to share?
I put mine in the chat.
Uh-huh.
So I would definitely prefer the personal touch, but it would be nice if it could be with the production company so that there's still more, if you will, control on our side as opposed to the production.
Okay, got it. I'll make a note of that too. With that said, this next thing is kind of better promotion via the associate student social media person. Considering now that we actually hired a PR person quite recently, we can go ahead and put them to work promoting that. As I understand it, we had a campus-wide email sent out for the fall club rush, and I think those are the ways that I can think of to promote this virtual club rush. But I don't know if you all have any better ideas, or if you want to give feedback on how many members you got based on the marketing push we did and what we can do to improve. Any comments about that, of how to market this? Or questions?
Well, so I'm old school. I like putting things up on boards, advertising on boards throughout the campus. But since we can't do that, what would be the equivalent of that?
Definitely, I think having a campus-wide email sent out. I actually have notes like from way back, the ICC meeting at the beginning of the semester. Someone suggested that maybe we have 2 campus-wide emails sent out, so that this is kind of a consistent message for students. To that effect, I don't know how, because that's kind of maybe not really under my control of how many emails IT can send or be willing to send. But that would be kind of the equivalent, I would say.
I was gonna say, are we allowed to to reach out to the instructors and kind of leave a snippet? Because I know my professor in my accounting class, she gives us a lot of information just on outside activities. So if we can get involved with maybe one of them, they can do that same thing and be like, hey, there's Club Rush, and it'll show up on our campus type situation.
Okay, I can definitely do that. One avenue I can think of is we have an academic senate, which is like a group of deans and instructors from every department here on campus. So I can reach out to the AS member that interfaces with that group and then maybe let her know to make an announcement during those meetings. So make a note of that.
Thank you.
Any other ideas for marketing this or pushing this out?
Even sorry, you can go ahead.
Okay. Reaching out to support clubs on campus as well, to support programs like Puente, Mesa, all of those that already share opportunities with students.
Okay, Mesa.
There's Mesa, Puente, EOPNS, there's the Transfer Center, like
Okay.
pretty much all centers on campus.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let me write that down. Anybody else have any? I think someone, Josie, was that you?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that because like a while ago on my Canvas, there was a notification of this social justice panel thing. And I just saw it as a notification. I don't know if anybody else got it, but I thought it was really helpful because it actually reminded me to visit that panel. I think if we could do that for virtual club rush, that'd be nice.
Okay, I think I know the person to connect with to put that notification out on campus. So I will try and reach out to her to see if that can be done. So good ideas here. I appreciate it. So far I have reaching out to professors and faculty, support programs, and putting a notification out on Canvas. Is there any other suggestions here? I think these are really good.
Maybe one final one is if you get Pathways coaches to just send out email blasts to their students that they coach. I think a lot of people read those, and I get notifications from my coach about upcoming events and stuff. So I don't think it'd be out of place.
Okay, perfect. I will go ahead and make a note of that too. Reach out to Tito and see if we can get that out. Okay, any other last suggestions here on how to market this? I think these are really great ideas, and now that I have it all in one place, I think we can have a better showing here in the fall. But any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm Junie from RM Club. I'm new here. I just have a question regarding this production company.
Mm-hmm.
How much money is required to do this? And then where does the money come from? I'm just thinking, could that fund be better utilized for helping like even the Christmas tree? idea that she was talking about, how much money goes out to just like advertise?
So in terms of marketing, what the ICC folks here have outlined so far with their suggestions, they are either little or no cost. It's just emailing departments here on campus. So there should be any funding really spent on that. I appreciate the economic thinking here with reaching out to departments on campus. But in terms of how much it will cost for a production company, as I understand it, normally, and I know this sounds like a lot, but it can be like 1,000, maybe a little bit more, but it costs money to get the equipment to produce the video and to edit it in the time that it takes for creative professionals to make the work. So that's not unheard of. I will say though, the reason why I put this suggestion out and to be fully transparent on why I'm comfortable spending this money is that we had ICC funding that was designated to be spent this semester for all of your events and activities. But seeing that a lot of people didn't spend that money on events or activities because we're all remote, I felt that we can then reallocate the money that was supposed to be used for this semester for this production company to help us out with your virtual Club Rush. So it's not like I'm taking money away from you from your funding for spring. We're just using money that we would have actually used in the fall anyway, but we just didn't because nobody really asked for any funding.
Okay, so I just have a question also. I'm new, and some of my other the people in the RN club, they asked, we're a little bit confused about the fund, that $150 that you said they allocated for us to use and have to be used by. We were confused whether it could be only for the RN club or does it have to be for the whole school?
Okay, so that is not necessarily a Club Rush question. I will get to it in the next slide in regards to funding to clarify the stimulus and how we can improve that experience for spring. But I will put a pin in that. I will answer your question and I'll refer.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let me write that down. So. Okay. So I think with that, I'll move on to kind of the next point here. So another concern that was brought up to me based on the feedback way back in the earlier ICC meetings was how we divvied up the clubs in the categories. So the way we did it is through career communities. So it's like if you are a STEM major, you might be interested in a STEM club. If you're a liberal arts major, you might be interested in a liberal arts club. I was thinking of just to keep it simple to use the same categorization for this Club Rush, but I don't know how you all felt about that and if maybe it could be better or if you want it to be different. So what are your thoughts on that? If anybody wants to.
I don't remember all of the categories. I just remember that initially our club was listed, I believe, under honor and social, and then later it went to social. So what's the difference?
Yeah, and well, honors club is like AGS or like the actual honors club, which is like academic focused and focused on like the transfer experience. Social clubs are more for students to come in and socialize and talk about a hobby or I think in your case religion. So that was kind of the difference, but I know that maybe that wasn't fully transparent. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was a little confusing because I wasn't sure what definition of honor we were looking at. So, but I'm fine with us being a social club. I thought I had seen something about spiritual, but I'm not sure. So if that's a category, then I think that would be a preferred category maybe. Or if we could be in both, if there's something under spiritual and social.
Yeah, and this is kind of the challenge that I had for fall is that if I let everyone choose their own categories, it would be chaotic because I didn't want there to be 10 clubs in one room and then 2 clubs in another room because I felt that that would be a little bit unfair to, clubs that maybe wanted a little bit more airtime and they didn't get it because, they were categorized in a certain group. I mean, to be fully transparent again, this was the chart that I used last semester you know, I didn't make this chart, but props to Sheila Rose who did. She went ahead and categorized these clubs into, you know, the career communities. This is what I was going to use for next semester, seeing that this is pretty much balanced all across the board. I went ahead and had to do, obviously with this other category, kind of split up into a couple more things, but I mean, what do you all think? Do you think all of these categories are good? STEM, business, industry, health sciences, liberal arts, social. I mean, if you don't feel like you belong in any of these categories, you know, what do you all think?
I'm good with this format.
Yes, I also agree. I have a quick question though about how the separation kind of would work if we used a production company. How would the production company help represent each of the individual clubs when there's like so many of them?
Yeah, so that's also, I guess, maybe leaking into this other question that I have, this next question I have in regards to maybe having a live event or a pre-recorded event. I was thinking maybe in terms of the production company, I think there are more production companies out there that maybe specialize in having pre-recorded videos rather than live videos. I might be wrong on that, but what I was thinking is I would categorize clubs into their respective groups, and then the production company can then work with, you know, this group and then shoot a video of that club and then shoot a video of another club in that category and then so on, and then stitch those videos together in a way that, you know, that's comprehensive. So I mean, is that what you were thinking, or what did you have in mind with if we had categories and if we were working with a production company?
So if we were to work with a production company and like shoot a video, is that something we would do physically, like in person, like meet up, plan a type of video, or is that like what you're implying by it, or would it be something we make ourselves kind of?
Yeah, it's a little bit nebulous at this point because I haven't really reached out to any production companies and how their workflow is. But you know, seeing that I think the college is pretty firm on not coming to campus or not having interactions with each other. I would imagine that you would use your own like camera or filming equipment, but then the production company will give you pointers or tips about how to record and how to formalize a script for your presentation. So that's what I was thinking, just off the top of my head here. But obviously, I don't know if any of you have any experience working with production companies. I know Men spoke about having experience with one possibly, and what you might suggest.
My job is I was the assistant manager of one of the biggest rock bands, and so I ended up working with a lot of production companies. And one thing that you can do is you could just say like, this is a event that we want to make something for, and we've got this kind of budget, but we don't really know what we want in terms of like creative ideas, and you can have them propose stuff pretty easily. And they're usually decently good at that if you give them good guidelines and goals.
Okay, that's fair. Leave the creativity to the creative professionals. So I think I like that. Am I getting that right? Like I think I kind of like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also another quick question: if everybody, this would be something that all the clubs would choose to do together, right? Like use a production company. Is there a possible option of our club making our own individual video instead of like using funding for that, or?
I'm not too sure. It's always a balance of consistency and control. Like, I don't want to force you all to work with a production company if that's not what you want, but that's why I'm sending out a survey so that it's a majority decision rather than, right? So I mean, I would kind of look at the results of the survey and go from there is what I would say.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense.
Any other questions about how we categorize people? And before I kind of maybe move on, I think we touched on it though anyway, this next bullet point here. Okay, so with that said, I know there's a push and pull, and I've been kind of thinking about this in the back of my head too, planning for this. Do you all like the pre-recorded format that we had, or do you all prefer a live event where you're coming to like a Zoom here and then we're recording it and then we're having students come in and ask questions and stuff? What do you all prefer? Let me start off with that question.
I think I prefer pre-recorded.
Okay.
I would prefer pre-recorded as well.
Pre-recorded.
People like pre-recorded. Okay. I was gonna say I was gonna include in the survey to have an option for that, but seeing that, am I wrong on that? Most people just prefer pre-recorded instead of it being live.
Yes, logistically, it'd be more reasonable.
Okay, sure. I like the reasoning, and I was gonna ask it, why you all feel that way too. But I understand. Okay, all right. So that was an easy kind of decision. And if we do high production company, I will specify that to them and see what we can do to get the ball rolling on that. But last thing here before I move on to the next slide here is the types of questions we should ask or the dialogue we should be having with your club to kind of best represent your club. I know last semester, the way I did it was I had a bunch of pre-formatted questions. And then as AS members would host the meetings, they would basically go through the questions and ask the same questions to every club. I mean, how do you all feel about that? Was that too boring? Do you want something different? Or should the questions be modified? What do you all think about that? Any comments about, how to interview or the format should go?
I thought it was fine last time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. Well, in the meeting that wasn't required a couple of weeks ago, the non-quorum meeting, a smaller group of ICC and I discussed the fact that, a little bit of what I was thinking, and I don't know how feasible this would be, but, I don't know if any of you are familiar with maybe podcasts, or if you all listen to like a television interview, there's a host obviously, and they ask, for each new guest that comes on a podcast or a television show, they don't always ask the same questions to the people that are coming on because they're in different jobs or they have different lives or whatever the reason it might be. So I was thinking of, I think this will be more of an onus on the host, but for each club to kind of have their own questions, tailored questions. Like I know, like, for Sophia here being a part of Catholic Student Fellowship, you might ask the question specifically about her religion or their religion. And if it's a STEM club, you might ask a question that's more specific to, their STEM field or whatever. I mean, I'm not sure how comfortable people would be like ad-libbing, because essentially what would have to happen is that the host would ask you a question and you would have to think of an answer right then and there for them. But the format that I had for fall was you would all basically everyone would have the same question. So you would all write a response, and you would all kind of have you would have a script basically to read off of if you kind of don't know what to say or whatever. So I just want to make sure, like, do you all prefer having like a strict format like that where everyone gets the same questions? Or would you maybe like it more to be more like casual and like off the top of your head kind of thing?
I would prefer it to be more focused on each club, but I do think we should still have questions prior to recording it so that the clubs are prepared with their responses, but they are specific to the club.
Okay, that's fair. So kind of like a hybrid of the two. So what are some questions that we would ask for every club, and what are some questions that you think might be more specific? Like what questions would be, oh, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm putting it in the chat, but it's too quiet for me. For us, or maybe in general, a question such as, why is your club important to you? Because obviously we're here for a real important reason, right? So we're here because we care about what we're doing, or at least that's my perspective.
Okay. Any suggestions for questions that we should maybe give to everybody?
Why is this club needed on our campus?
Any other suggestions?
What does your club do?
What does your club do? Okay. Anybody else? We're on a streak here.
I guess kind of like a pitch of, why should somebody join your club?
Okay. Any other suggestions, or if we can maybe move on to questions like that are individual to each club? How's your club? Okay, let me copy that.
I think they should also mention their meeting times.
Okay. Anybody else?
If the club has connections with the community already, that should be mentioned, or there should be a question asking that.
And then how long has your club been on campus? Optional question.
Copying from the chat here, what can / does your club offer, and mentioning of any social media pages that they're on or platforms.
Would we be able to bring alumni to ask them how the club has like benefited them outside of school, like past their time in the club? Does that make sense?
Sure. I'm writing all these suggestions down. I know they're just suggestions though, but I will take them seriously. And maybe if we do end up working with a production company, for example, I will give all of these suggestions to them and see what can and can't be done.
I have one. How has your club adjusted to the COVID situation?
Okay. There is a lot here. Why don't I do this? In the survey that I'm going to send out, I'll have a free response section. If any of you have any other suggestions for clubs, for questions that you think every club should have, and suggestions for like specific, that are specific to like your club, so that maybe we can have a more targeted interview. So just to save on time, is that okay? Are there any last suggestions here? Anyone wants to shout out or get feedback for?
Or also just for the production company, if we could like put any questions that we have that would want to directly ask the production company as far as helping us, because if they're just going to be giving us advice in editing, I feel like those are also things that we could get from in home as well. If we're going to be doing our own home videos.
Okay, that's fair. So basically, all of us is the client. Like we as a body are the client, and we want to all ask this production company if we hire them those questions. Am I understanding that right?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I will make a note of that too to add that to the survey. But yeah, with that said, let me move on to funding. We are a little bit over one here, so I want to get you all out. But this is our last discussion item. But this is pretty important. Is funding. And I know we put a pin in registered nursing club's question from before about there was some confusion about funding. So this is what I plan to do for spring to try and make things more clear and to give an equal footing to everybody. I will give everybody a new stimulus amount. The amount of 150 will expire obviously at the end of the semester here, but I will then give everybody and re-up their funding and give them a new package basically for spring. Obviously, the amount would have to be approved by the funding committee, which we do have, I believe, one other meeting next Friday to talk about, or in 2 Fridays to talk about. So I will have a more in-depth discussion with those voted members. But what I was thinking for this stimulus package to kind of address the confusion about if it can be used for your club or other students or whatever is, again, this is the whole conversation about consistency and control, is that would give you like a menu of options that you can pick from to spend this money on. So the way I kind of equate it and the vision I have for this is like, if you go to a restaurant and you have a menu, like I want to order 1 burger and 1 appetizer and blah, 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 right? So I would give you the stimulus funding, but you can only pick from this menu of items to spend the money on so that it's clear. Like, is that okay for people, or do they want more freedom than that?
More freedom, please.
Freedom.
So with that said, what if I get suggestions on what should be on the menu? Like I know a lot of clubs are asking for like t-shirts, and some clubs are asking for like gift cards. Gift cards is a no, so that wouldn't be on the menu. But I mean, because what's hard for I think me and Carrie is that we have to kind of take a lot of these questions one by one. Like, is it okay if we spend money on this? No. Is it okay if we spend money on this? Yes. And then it's like 10 different email chains from 10 different clubs wanting to spend your stimulus money. So to kind of cut down on that, this is what I was thinking. I mean, what do you all think? Like we would, as a group, decide on what items to be on the menu, but I mean, what do you all think about this suggestion? Let me take a pause here and ask about that.
So I have a question as far as, go ahead.
You can go, you're good.
I was wondering if, as far as the men's group, on our stimulus funding for this semester, the 150 still, are we allowed to use that on a charity event of some sort for the community service, or would that not be allowed?
It depends on the charity event. See, this is again kind of going to that whole like it's squishy, right? Like I want to give you a definite yes or no, but it's like it depends on the situation and I have to know more. So I want to avoid giving those. I don't want to feel like I'm dodging you. It's just that like it's not really up to me about what can and can't be spent on. So I would say it depends. Yeah, that's the best answer I can give.
Yes.
I just wanted to acknowledge what somebody put in the chat as far as making a list of what we can't spend it on, because I feel like that would be helpful as well.
Okay. So instead of a menu of what you can spend it on, it'd be a menu of what you can't spend it on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Chris.
Yes.
I know that there were some guidelines this semester for like what we, can't spend it on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you and Carrie would have a lot of requests coming through and you have to say like, no, not this, yes, that. Is that confusion that people have? Like the people who come and they ask you for something that's a no, is that because of a fault with the guidelines as they're currently written? Like maybe they're not clear enough? Or is that a fault of people just not reading the guidelines?
No, I always, give people the benefit of the doubt. I really honestly think the reason why it's so maybe a little bit confusing is because not to say that it was like my fault that this happened, but it's also it's all compounded, right? Because when I originally gave everybody stimulus funding last spring, if you were around as a club last spring, I was crazily optimistic that we would be back in the fall in person and that you would all have $150 to spend on table banners and stuff for an in-person club rush, for example. Obviously, that did not happen, and we're currently still in the same situation that we were in for spring. So really honestly, when I created that stimulus funding, I did not anticipate that we would have to go remote again. And I didn't think of the guidelines when I created that of what can and can't be spent on. So I think it was really kind of a little bit of my fault that I didn't give any guidelines, but I gave everyone money anyway. And I want to maybe help lessen that confusion by giving a menu of options. So that's what I'm doing now. Like I am suggesting that we do stimulus funding, but I give everybody options about how to spend it so that there's no confusion like there is right now, if that's clear.
Understood.
But of course, like I know people, right off the bat, when I put this out, people are like, we want freedom, we want, all of the options to be open. But at the same time, I'm thinking on the back end for Carrie and me, just to keep things easier and for you all to access the money to have like a selection of options. But I mean, I know there's a conversation right now about a list of things that you can't spend money on. But I mean, I don't know, what do you all think would be the best approach to this?
Hello?
Yes.
I think it's good idea that you have what we could spend on, so we're clear on that. But I mean, like a suggestion, but if the other club members or another club have other idea, they could ask, but it would be nice to have something to go by. For example, like if we wanted to, we didn't know whether it had to be for the whole school or this club. So I think some kind of guideline is great to start off, unless if there's they have another idea. Because right now, we don't know.
Yeah, because if I was thinking of a menu that you can't spend the money on, it would basically almost mirror this. Like it would basically be, you know, no funding for food supplies during a club meeting, integral to missions. I don't want it to be this way because as I understand it, like I want stimulus funding to be more, like to have a different, needs to be more open than regular ICC funding, right? Like this rule that says no funding for things that have been used during club meetings. Like, what if you wanted to have, or what if you wanted to buy like a Discord subscription or something, right? Like that would be a no under this list. But I want there to be more options available to you all when you have stimulus funding. So again, it's just the balance between like, you know, this freedom and control. Like I know that you all, you know, have difficulty maybe thinking of ideas about how to spend your money, and I want to kind of maybe help alleviate that.
For example, the confusion is the way for the last meeting. I think the Catholic club mentioned that they want to use the fund to go toward purchasing the T-shirts for the club members, but it's not enough for all the club members. So they were gonna be, that could be supplemented, but I don't know if that's allowed or is it supposed to be like for the whole school? Because it's only $150. So we don't know how to spend it. So it goes to everybody. Is it everybody in the club or everybody in the whole school?
What was said is that it the $150, if you're going to buy the t-shirts, you have to purchase a t-shirt for everyone that wants one. So if you have 16 members and 8 members want one, then naturally you have to purchase 8 for those 8 members of your club that want one. Because it's a general umbrella and you have 16 members, then you would logically want to purchase 16 because then you don't want to be short 8 later. So it's, you have to decide that within your club meeting, but it's for the club members.
So for our club, we just gave our own money and bought T-shirts and sweatshirts for those of us who won. So could that $150 go towards that to bring down the cost, but like benefit of all those who won in the club?
So are you saying like you're part of your, so like it would be like a subsidized cost? Like if people want a T-shirt, like they would pay like it would cost $5 for a T-shirt and each club member would pay $2, but the $3 would be covered by stimulus money. Is that your question?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm just trying to know how we could utilize it because we couldn't utilize it this time. So for the spring, we just want to know how could we utilize it without money disappearing because it seems so hard.
Yeah, I know. This is kind of, again, this whole logic behind like having a menu. Like, yes, you can spend it on T-shirts. Yes, you can spend it on online subscriptions. Yes, you can. So it kind of is a little bit of like a first hurdle of like, it will answer those questions. So that Carrie and me don't have to email back and forth. But then if you want to kind of step up to a second level of like, what if we want to have like this, but then it's like that and it's more specific and there's more details of like this, is that okay? You know what I mean? Like there will be like a first barrier for simple questions and there'll be like a second thing of like, if you want more, if you have a more detailed request, you'd have to ask me or Carrie.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful because even though there's guideline here, it's hard.
And then, oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to suggest to the RN club, if they feel they haven't been able to think of what to spend the money on, Carrie mentioned banners for your club so that when we are back on campus, your club would have a banner. I just wanted to throw that out.
So actually, Sophia here put in the chat, like how about the menu including both? So why don't let's just put an arbitrary amount. Like we have on the first page, you have stimulus funding, congratulations. You have these 10 items you can spend money on. This is your menu. And on the second page, it's like if you have requests that are not part of these 10 items, ask me or Carrie, but the likely answer is no, because the first 10 items have already been vetted by Carrie, me, and the auditors and student business services. Is that fair to people? Like, is that kind of, something that people would want? RN Club, I know this is a concern of yours, so I want to make sure.
No, I mean, I'm just curious. Yeah, that sounds good. At least I think it's great.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's good to know both. I just don't want it to be so restrictive that clubs that have a certain something, for example, the motor club, they may have a certain something that the rest of our clubs don't even think about spending the money on. And then as a religious club, we have items that nobody else would be thinking of spending on. So if you guys make it so constrictive, then we may not be able to come up with brilliant ideas to spend it on.
I think also it'd be a good idea in the survey that we were supposed to do for the production and stuff to have another box where we might be able to put our ideas of what we might hypothetically want to spend it on, so that you could take a look at it. I know you can't probably say yes or no to everything on RIP and you have to ask other people, but so that you could just get an idea of what our ideas might be, so that they can go on the yes or no list, so that we can give a detailed example up front without having to go through a million different emails, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard because going down and skipping to this last point here, it's kind of like I know you all have a need for it, but then I don't really know what you all want. So it's hard for me to kind of balance how to make this easy for people, but to also give people the freedom. So maybe the best way to tackle this is in a survey, you give me some ideas that you would spend money on, and I kind of take that feedback and think of a way to either create a menu or just create a blanket policy of because these items are things that people ask for, this is the policy that we generated because we don't want to have to keep answering emails back and forth.
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying, and I think Miss Sophia, in regards to having concern for different clubs needing / wanting different items to spend money on, I think if in the forms or in the list of things that we can or cannot have, let's say club t-shirts are in the list that we can order. Let's say if Miss Sophia, your club wants club rosaries instead, I think that could be sort of an implied item that would be under the t-shirts category per se. Or if we have a mechanic club and they all want an engraved wrench, I don't know, but it's just something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So while it might not be directly on the list, I think if it's something that would be used for club promotion or to show your club as a collective team, then even if we just have t-shirts on the list, something like that should be accepted.
That makes sense. I agree with that. So is the RN t-shirt or RN cap, club cap,
exactly.
whatever.
Or a stethoscope.
Right.
So it'll be a merchant. It'll be like a merchandise category, and then there'll be a subscriptions category, right? Is that what you all want?
Yes, I think that would be more clear and also allow for more flexibility.
Okay. To go ahead and move things along, because we are a little bit over time already, why don't I do this? I'll make a note of this to have an implied policy, but in the survey that I'm going to send out, I want you all, if you have any ideas of what you want to ask money for, just throw it out in the free response section for that survey, so that Carrie and I can take your wants or your needs into account and create something that agrees with both the auditors and what you all want. So is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all right. To go ahead and then move on to the last thing here, training. Um, so I will start off by, it was a lot this semester, a lot of things to do. And unfortunately, I was busy, so I apologize, but I wasn't able to get out a training session or portion out for you all today, as we typically do with ICC training, if you all were a club in spring or last fall. So I want to kind of go through and see if it's possible to have a training, but also a training that's not too hard on me to produce for you all, but something that's informative at the same time. So this kind of goes up to the question of if you all, okay, so maybe let me backtrack a little bit, and before I read off of any one of these bullet points, do you all feel like you're well informed and well trained about what the procedures are for IC this semester in regards to like attendance or filling out forms or funding or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
As someone who's never been ICC rep before, I don't need club training this semester. Like, I've gotten through the whole semester and it's fine. But I think for new ICC representatives, it should be important to have next semester. I understand that this semester's over for clubs and like it's not a big deal, but I do think it would be helpful because I find myself asking my other like club board members or other ICC members like for more specific, like just for a little bit of help, because I'm not entirely sure on procedure.
Okay. So training would be good, and the way that most of you got trained this semester was unofficially through like people that you know or people that you associate with. Got it. Am I hearing that right? Like, is that something that so it's kind of like a want, but since it didn't happen this semester, you were able to find a way.
Yes.
Okay. If I were to do a training though, I know most of you are already familiar with the process. It would be hard for me to sort through who's new and who's old. So I would have to do it for all of you, which is why I guess now I can pivot to if you all prefer having like a live event where you, like previously in previous semesters, for those of you who are familiar in spring or last fall, you would come on a Saturday and we would feed you and we would give you workshops to go to. So this would be like kind of the virtual equivalent of that. You just come during one weekend or one day that we determine, and you would then be trained in individual like workshops or individual Zoom rooms. So on that end, the pro of that having that live format is it's one and done. Like you just come for one day and you sit through however many hours or how many workshops you have and you're done. And because we take attendance and we just march you off as like, yeah, you were trained. The pro of that also is that it's less work for Carrie and me and the staff that have to create the training materials. Because I don't have to like open an editing program and stitch, my audio together with a screen share together and all that stuff. It's just because it's done live. So that's the pro of that. But the con of that obviously is that you have to come on a weekend, it's kind of live and you have to be there and sit through it. I mean, what do you all think about a live event here before I talk about the pros and cons of having like a pre-recorded event?
So I have a question
that you would like.
Sorry. Okay, so I have a quick question. So you're saying that it's difficult to keep track of who's new. Would we? I know I believe for the stimulus funding this semester, we said that it was only for clubs that had already had stimulus funding. So in that case, can we have the clubs that, I mean, we can look at the agenda, the clubs that were chartered this semester and have it so those clubs don't have to attend the training, but new clubs do? Because
based on how many new clubs, this is from my experience as executive vice president being in this position, based on how many new clubs come in each semester, there's really only like maybe at max, in my experience, in my time in this position, like 3 or 4. So to create a training just for 3 or 4 people is a little bit, not that I don't want to train them, but it's like, it's a lot of effort for then maybe like if Yeah, right. Like OMD said, but ICC representatives change. Like if people are missing gaps in their knowledge too, I don't want that to kind of fall through the crack. And this is why, like, if I were to do a training, it would be an everybody training. So if you can get where I'm coming from.
So in that case, instead of doing a training for those 3 clubs who decide that they want to be chartered next semester, could you hold an office hours where they can go and ask any questions that they have instead?
It wouldn't be an office hours because it would have to be like an A to Z kind of like, this is how you, like, you'll be a lesson, like, this is how you request club meetings, this is how you do an ARF, this is how you do. So it's like, I can't exactly have an office hours where they can come and ask any questions because they don't really know what to ask. I would have to train them on the procedures first before they know, what questions to ask.
Okay. I don't know. My only question is, if there, I mean, is all the information not like sent out? Is not like online? I mean, because I didn't really have someone assisting me in learning how to do this, but I believe I found information online. So if it's online, then theoretically they could, I don't know. A whole training seems like a lot for 3 people, is all I'm saying.
So I guess maybe this goes into the whole question of having like a pre-recorded training where all the videos are on Canvas and modules, and you would watch it, and then that would be it. Like you would just have to go through the Canvas modules and take a quiz at the end and stuff. So with that said, like if you're experienced and you know basically what you're supposed to do, you can just go straight to the Canvas quizzes and answer the questions and be done with it, right? But if you don't know and you're new, you can kind of go into Canvas and watch the videos and whatever, and then take the quiz.
I think that would be ideal.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we had talked about that where some of us do better at our own pace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so with that said, let me kind of outline the pros and cons of having a pre-recorded thing then. A is, I can't like micromanage everything. So like if people are sharing answers, I mean, this is a whole thing with like what's going on right now, I think with a lot of faculty too. But if people are sharing answers or just taking the quiz and just shotgunning it, like answering random questions until they get a result that they want, like I can't control that, and I can't like ensure then that person has been fully trained. So that's con number 1. Con number 2 is that Carrie and I and Jordan and all the other advisors are going to have to be on board with setting up video equipment, setting up screen sharing, setting up all that stuff to then train people and create a video that's comprehensive and thorough. So it's a lot of work on our end too. And it's something that I honestly, at this point with how close we are to spring, I don't know if we would be able to produce out and get out in time before, the first week of spring. So that's another concern too. So based on those like cons, I mean, is that something that you still all feel comfortable moving forward with in terms of the demand of the work and in terms of like, the ability to not really check if people are trained or not?
I know I'm okay with that. I think ultimately it's up to the ICC representative whether they actually apply themselves and learn the modules.
Okay.
So I don't really think there's any way to ensure that, given that we're online, that they're actually going through the modules, unless, of course, you want to do the one you discussed before and have everyone have their cameras on. Because if their cameras off, then you can ensure that they're actually paying attention to the training if you're doing a live training.
Okay. All right, that's fair. I will take that into consideration then. I'm just thinking about the load
Send
of
it.
work.
I can't say I just sent it.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I'm sorry, I accidentally demuted myself. I'm trying to figure out what I need to send for things to keep moving for the club, and I accidentally demuted myself. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. Okay, all right. I'm just thinking, I was gonna say, I'm thinking about the load of work that's going to be put on Jordan and me and very on top of the stuff that we already have, but it looks like this is what you all want. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get
So in reference to that though, I think I was thinking of some sort of hybrid thing. I don't really know how it would work, but
Yeah.
I mentioned it in the previous meeting, something to where if you do hold the live meeting training
Mhm.
recorded so that whoever isn't there or whoever doesn't quote need the training and needs a refresher of some sort could still go and look it up.
Okay. I will
That would
think
sort
about
of alleviate the burden off of all of you because it would still be there and it would be as thorough as possible because people would be asking questions and their questions and answers would be recorded and just, you know, on YouTube or something for us to reference.
With that said, though, you would all be a little bit like the guinea pigs of like that format because I would have to schedule a Zoom call and schedule workshops and stuff and then record those things. But at the same time, like, you know, I can't put the cart before the horse. Like I have to record it and then post it for it to be on Canvas. So you would all have to come that day to that live event and I would take attendance and that would be that. Which kind of a little bit goes against what I think Caduceus Club was saying, in that what if you already know this information and you just want to jump straight to like the Canvas quizzes and just answer it because you know the stuff already, right? So is that something that you'd be all comfortable with coming on that day to be live recorded?
I know I would.
Sorry, you can go.
Yeah, I was just editing. I was just saying it's I'd like to hear what you guys think because I think I'm on mute.
Oh, I think I mean, I understand, Chris, if this is like a lot of work, but a pre-recorded or like a module lesson type system where we can do it by a certain date instead of having to come like all however many members there are to us to one meeting would be better. And then in regards to like worrying about people not being honest on like the quiz, I know some of my professors do like you get 2 tries for this quiz and so or you like 3 tries and so maybe that would like help mitigate the number of people not being honest. So like let's say you get one question wrong, it's not a big deal. You can go back and you can review what you didn't know and then you can like get it right the next time.
Okay. I'll consider that.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, what if, like my question then is kind of going to nitty gritty of this. Like, what if they continually fail the quizzes? We would have to eventually get them to pass. So we would have to, I mean, continue to add on attempts for them because if they fail and they just fail and you know, no more attempts are allowed. I mean, I'm not sure what Carrie and I do next after that, basically. Like, would that count as like an absence for their training? Like they weren't there because they didn't finish the quiz correctly, or I don't know.
So I guess that brings us back to the question. I know it's a lot of work for you guys. Is this really something that's necessary? Especially if most of us have been attending the meetings, do know do sort of have our footing on this, and there's only going to be a couple new members. Maybe we could assign we could have certain days where people can come ask questions again. I know we brought that up, but this is a lot of work and I feel a little bit bad about making you guys do this work, especially given that I'm assuming at this point most of us kind of have our footing down.
Okay, that's fair, but all right. I mean, I'm not also thinking about just spring 2021, but I'm also thinking about future ICC, like when I am no longer here in this position, right? Like those videos in that module, like all Carrie would have to do, and this would be a load off of the next person, is just add people to that Canvas shell and that'll be a training. Like there will be basically no more in-person IC trainings, like even after this whole situation with pandemic is over, people would just go on Canvas and do the trainings, right? Like I'm thinking about the long term for this too. If I can maybe advocate on all of your behalfs. Yeah. I don't know if there are any comments about that or yes.
I don't
I
know
think
why test is necessary. If this is just to help the new club or new person, new rep, and they would want to learn to be able to know what they need to do. But when you say test or quiz, it seems like, I don't know if it's necessary. It's just for the benefit to help them learn.
But I would also like to point out that it's not only like training you on funding and holding a meeting and stuff, it's also training you on like other things outside of the normal duties of IC. It trains you on leadership. It trains you on communicating with your club. Like it's not like traditionally these ICC retreats, in my experience and having done them twice already in person before, it's not only about like the logistics of ICC, but it's also about like you as a leader, like, you know, learning these skills and soft skills and stuff. So, you know, I would kind of a little bit push back on the fact that it might not be necessary because I think a lot of the content is good there. Yeah, so I mean, it's hard because I don't want to break tradition of like not having people do trainings anymore if they're a club that are returning because A, I don't think Carrie would be too open to that, but B, I think it would also be unfair to, like I said, if like some people have said, if ICC representatives change, or what I was saying, if there are gaps in knowledge, like I forgot how to do funding, how do I do funding, you know, like, and that person isn't coming or allowed to come because they are already marked as having been trained before. Training, oh yes, for Catholic student, training is in place of it. It is the retreat. Because we usually have a retreat and we didn't do one in fall, like I need to do one for spring. I mean, it's not, like I say, it's not necessarily in the bylaws, but it's a tradition, so.
What I mean is training is good, but I don't know if tests is necessary.
Well, it's not like it doesn't go in your transcript or anything. It's just a quiz to assess if you know the information or not. And that's for me and Carrie to know. I mean, clubs are, you know, extracurricular, right? Like it's no pressure if you forgot information or something, you can retake the quiz again, or you can ask me. It's just, I want to cut down on the number of questions that are being asked from me and Carrie. And, you know, as I want the information to be solid in one place forever, so that it just, you know, people don't have to keep having questions and having to, us to repeat ourselves, basically.
So I'm all for making the video for, you know, future ICC reps because they do change and we do forget. I know that RN Club mentioned that why have the test, but my whole thing is this. Traditionally, you are correct. There is the retreat where we do the training. When we go back on campus, I don't think that should be eliminated. I think that the video that you make today can still be utilized at that retreat, right? To show so that there isn't so much back and forth and you can still have, you know, a happy medium, I guess, if you will. But I don't think that the retreat itself should be eliminated when we go back on campus.
Okay. Here's what
Yeah.
I'll do then.
Or as an
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, or as an alternative in the future. So like, let's say for whatever reason people cannot attend the retreat, like then they could do the Canvas module videos. Like it could be like if you're absent, this is your other option.
That's a good suggestion. So here's what I'll do, because I know we are way over our normal meeting time. I will send out a survey. In the survey, I will include a question if you prefer a pre-recorded session or if you prefer a live session. And then what will happen with the content if we have both formats. So you can all kind of select which one I think best represents your your vision. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I was gonna ask, but I know we're a little bit short on time. If there's any one last question here about any information this semester that was unclear or that you really, really want to see in these trainings, I'll make a note of that to make like a module on it or something. But is there anything that stands out that you would like to know?
I have a question that is not related to this, but it's really quickly. Do you have available the calendar for the spring semester?
Not yet, but I will. I'll send it out sometime during winter. Yeah.
Okay, that's all.
In terms of ICC meetings, they're every other Friday, so this time will not change. So if you're scheduling classes and stuff, make sure to work around that. Any other questions here? I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the last slide then. Okay, all right. I know this was a long meeting, probably one of the longest for the entire semester, but it is the last meeting. So, you know, after this, I won't see you all for a while unless you like book office hours with me or something. But with that said, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 1:40 p.m. Do I have a first?
College sleep first.
Do I have a second?
Kathleen Student Fellowship seconds.
Okay, all right. In terms of, again, any future meetings, make sure to check your emails during winter for, French Club mentioned for the calendar and everything. I'll send that information out. But if there are any opposed to this adjournment here, you can unmute yourselves and say so. Any abstentions? Okay, all those in favor, unmute yourself and say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, you are all free to go. By the way, for the funding committee people, I know we have a funding committee later today, but I would like to mention also during the next meeting after this that we will probably have a more in-depth discussion with the funding that we talked about today with the entire ICC group. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, if there are no questions from you, you can go. If there are questions, you can stay. Obviously, I will be here. Let me stop the live stream so we can get to that. And yeah, I will see you all after the holidays. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your New Year's, and stay safe and healthy, everybody. I appreciate you coming and finals.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
So what is the actual deadline for the ICC stimulus funding? Because I heard December 14th, December 4th, and now December 1st.
It's December 1st off the top of my head. I'm not sure where the other dates might have come from, but
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so December 1st. So because we're trying to get the meeting going tonight,